and welcome. Friday evening or afternoon or night, whatever you want to call it. And we're live again. And
Brilliant.
brilliant. Would my guest like to introduce themselves and talk about their Instagram page? Mark.
Yeah. Name's Mark. Instagram page is Beertrawler. Started this about, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, maybe. Used to take it slightly more seriously, not so much now. Just do it for a bit of fun, just to kind of track what beers I'm drinking. I like both. I like beer. Significant interest in it. Also like photography as well. So those two things kind of come together quite well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm on Twitter as well. So I always kind of with Instagram, I kind of have the approach that, if people want to follow me, come along, follow me. I try to interact with whoever kind of contacts me, try to make the effort, but I don't take it overly seriously at the same time. I don't bother with hashtags. I don't even tag most of the time now. But when I do post something, it's either because I really like it or because I was really pleased with a particular picture or photograph that I took. So that's my background.
Okay. I suppose getting on to them, do you have any particular styles of beer or do you like?
Yeah, well, I think probably New England IPA probably obviously takes up a significant amount of what I drink. I like those soft, low bitterness IPAs, but I still love my West Coast IPAs. I mean, a Foam and Fury was probably the original of Foam and Fury was kind of one of the beers that kind of really stood out to me when I was getting into beer. I do like that high bitterness, those high bitterness kind of West Coast IPAs. I don't drink as much as I used to, but I probably need to change that. I love black IPAs as well. It's nice to see that they're making a bit of a comeback. It's a couple.
They come in and they come out like very fast.
Yeah. I like the first one I ever had was years ago. Was the Black's black IPA, and that was incredible back then. I know Galway Bay have had one recently that was really good. I have one there from Third Barrel as well, so which I'll be cracking open in a while.
But yeah, are you drinking now? Sorry, are you drinking now, or are you saving yourself?
No, I'm at the moment. I'm taking it easy, just so I don't, go too mad on camera. So I'm just drinking. Hope.
Show it properly to the camera. I'm still getting used to this. Everything is opposite.
Yeah.
I suppose getting on then, have any companies or anyone approached you about promotion then?
Have any companies come to me?
Yeah, like beer companies or anyone saying give you a free beer or something or promotion or
they have like I think in all the years that I've been doing the Instagram thing, I've probably had a handful of, honest to God, I think sometimes people think, like friends and family often say to me, they often think the beers I'm drinking I've got for free, but I've had about three or four beers over those years that I've had for free. At the moment, I don't take anything for free. Over the last few months, I just whatever I put up on my Instagram page, if I give a beer a review, it's an independent review and it's actually how I feel about it. I was recently offered a couple of free beers by a brewery, and I said no thanks. I'd rather, and that's fine, if people want to take free beer, by all means take it. But I'd rather, at the moment with COVID and stuff like that, I'd rather support them. I'm buy the beer myself, and then be honest when I give a review.
Yeah. Hello to Alan. Alan is the Irish craft beer guy, if you know over Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of the social media of kind of influencers or within the beer industry within Ireland, like people who post pictures or promote beer, I would say, I don't know, kind of review beer? Do you follow too many of them? Do you follow many of the, we say, English YouTube people?
Yeah, I follow. I think I follow most of the Irish ones. If I don't follow you, just send me a DM, and I'll give you a follow. But yeah, I think there's a really good community. It's great to see so many people. Particularly, I think in the last year, there's been so many new accounts that have come online, and I think that's probably been a result of lockdown, COVID, pubs being closed, people trying, craft beer or independent beer for the first time, and getting hooked, and deciding that they're setting up an Instagram page to kind of track their progress, the different or the new beers that they've been trying. And I think it's good for the breweries, local breweries. It's good for the community. The more people that we have involved, the more people that are going out that wants good beer. Because when the pubs do reopen, there'll be more people going up to bar managers and demanding that some of those taps, go to local breweries. So that's a good thing. But yeah, no, it's great. I follow quite a few of the UK ones as well. Some really, really good ones over there. Just a Swift one, fantastic. Million Bevs, Beer Banker, another good guy. And yeah, I like what they do as well. So yeah, I try to couple of there's a few European ones as well that I follow. So it's always good just to see kind of what different people are drinking, what styles are.
Yeah.
What style of beer people are drinking, what's popular at the moment, kind of different trends, and seeing when those trends come over to Ireland.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Alan and Fiona, they're spice and easy. Have you any bad comments or good comments then from your page? Is there any bad comments that stand out?
Well, no. Well, maybe after this there'll be a couple of bad comments, but no, I haven't. Like any interaction I've had has been always positive, which is really good. I think most people, I think in terms of, I've seen some of the UK accounts, and there's loads of kind of toxic discussions about influencers and beer going into Tesco and supermarket beer and stuff like that. And I don't really see those sort of conversations happening over here. I think most people are just kind of want to kind of get to know each other. They're passionate about beer, and they just want to share their love of beer with other people. There doesn't seem to be any kind of beef, any issues anyway. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I won't tell you some of my comments then.
Oh Jesus! Go on, tell me. Give me a few
examples.
examples.
No, I won't give them there. Good comments. Is there any comments that we say you turn your phone on after work? Maybe sometimes comments pop up. I'm not sure if you have Instagram or you have notifications linked. Any comments that kind of put a smile on your face or something?
Yeah, like it's nice. It's always a bit of fun when a brewery, like, I still remember that when I set up my Instagram account, and the first time a brewery shared one of my pictures. I mean, that's always a really nice feeling. Or just when people drop you a DM and just say, really like your account. I hate the word content, but yeah, I like your content. Or when kind of breweries and stuff, make a point of reaching out to you. Even if I don't if I don't take the beer, it's nice that they reach out and they like what you do or whatever, and or even I think at the festivals and stuff like that, when you approach the breweries, you go to the different stands and you get to talk to the people. You
Yeah.
might have been in touch with them on Instagram or on Twitter, like you're interacting with loads of people, and then you get to meet them at these events, and it's great just to meet up and catch up and talk about the thing that you have in common, that's beer. And I see Instagram as a positive thing. Thankfully, I haven't had any negative issues yet.
Well, you're right. So, well, that's it. Yeah, you shouldn't have. What do you think of the kind of beer industry in Ireland then, or the brewery industry? Craft.
Yeah,
But
it's I think it's kind of matured a lot, which is good. It's nice to see kind of it's. I have my dog here trying to get up on my lap.
no problem.
No, I think it's good to see kind of breweries like really kind of trying to do something different. It's like in terms of land and labor, trying to do like the mixed farm stuff along with Otterbank. I know there's not much of a market for those beers here in Ireland, but obviously, they'll have an eye on export. But it's great that we have those beers here. We have breweries that are putting those sorts of beers out here, and it gives us access to like really, really good beers. And it's not your usual. For a long time, a lot of the new breweries that came along, you got a pale ale, a red ale, a stout. Don't get me wrong, I love a red ale, I love stouts, but it's nice to have a mix. It's and it shows that there's kind of a bit more complexity to the market over here.
But I suppose some breweries, to get into the pubs and to get a local to be selling kegs and paying the bills, they have to brew them beers.
And don't get me wrong, like there's loads of great breweries that do those beers and they do them well.
Yeah. But I know it's changed now, but
yeah,
like a lot of people wouldn't. I've heard I'm close to O'Hara's now. I've heard stories even recently, not too long ago, bars and around Carlow saying if people were trying it, they had O'Hara's in the tap. Why are you drinking that? And they still had that attitude, And that was the bar person saying to someone trying it, you shouldn't be drinking that. That's rubbish.
It's terrible, but I've had that experience myself. Yeah, when I went in, it was a couple of years ago. I went in and I think it was an O'Hara's beer actually, and I seen it in the fridge, and I said, "Give me that." And you wouldn't want that, you wouldn't like that. I mean, it's completely the wrong approach, but
yeah,
and that's going to be hard. I mean, it's going to be hard to to change people's attitudes. I think COVID may have done it because you just see the volumes of the increase in volume and in terms of Craft Central.
Beertrawler, I think Dead Centre setting up Beertrawler, that's
Beer Cloud as well. Yards and Crafts, Beer Club as well. More and more people. I know people who were never into craft beer. Would have been possibly some of those people that were like, oh, I wouldn't drink that shit. Getting weekly or fortnightly deliveries from Craft Central over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
So there's, don't get me wrong, not everybody. Sorry. Not everybody is going to be drinking the mixed farm stuff. The New England IPAs. There has to be a wider market.
Yeah.
And there has to be those sort of kind of entry beers. I don't like that term entry level, but those beers that maybe people would be willing to try. I think one beer in particular that stands out to me is O'Hara's Nitro Stout.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be very popular for them, and I think that's a good entry point in terms of it's a really good beer. Since it's been released, I've constantly had a few cans in my fridge, but I think the kind of bridge the gap. I think that's going to be really good because it's not too exotic for people who are Guinness drinkers and haven't really tried much else, but it's maybe just enough that it's that little bit more kind of complex, and there's just a bit more there for them, but not enough to scare them away. So I think that's going to be really good. Like I said, there's we can't be. I love like traditional beers like Leon Folane, and that's one of my favorites. It's not always kind of imperial stouts and stuff like that. It's nice to kind of go back to kind of to the beers that I kind of would have started off with. But there has to be an entry point, and those beers that I was talking about, they definitely have their place. But it's nice to see some other kind of breweries come online that are doing different things.
Yeah, that's it. Something different and unusual, and well, not unusual, just something pushing the boat out a bit. What's your favorite brewery then? I know I'm putting in the step here. Is there any brewery? No, what brewery should someone look out for if, say, they're not in Ireland? One brewery to look out for that they haven't heard of.
Yeah, that's quite tough. I really like Dot. I think there's like it's really, really good, really consistent. But I've been a massive fan of Larkin's, and I think their IPA, Larkin's IPA, for me has been pretty unbeatable for a long time. I think people know Whiplash, so
yeah,
I think that's probably an obvious one. Third Barrel are particularly good as well. Other breweries that I'm excited about, Ballykilcavan. Not maybe, I think maybe not in terms of kind of export stuff, but in terms of kind of what's happening here, it's really interesting to see what they're doing kind of with that farmyard.
Yeah. Have you been down?
No, I haven't been down, but I've seen the photographs and the pictures, and there are plans for a tap room and stuff like that. That's going to be pretty exciting when restrictions end and that's ready to open.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of the hot pits there. Amazing days. If they have an open one this year, you should come down to it. I know it's a bit of a drive from Dublin. This is Dublin are located.
Yeah. Swords.
Yeah. But it's a really nice day, really nice people. And Joe now is the head brewer. I think
he's a great brewer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For someone who didn't start not too long brewing beer, it's amazing how far he's come.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like. There's a couple like absolutely solid breweries for me that they're not trying to be the kind of those standout kind of breweries. Like Hope they're local. They're my local brewery.
Yeah,
they're only about 5 miles away from me, but they're amazing. I mean, they constantly put out consistent stuff. I don't know if you had their export stout.
Probably did. I remember. Yeah, I did.
It's really, really good. So I like their specials. Their core range are really solid, and the great thing about them is that I don't know the story with Carlo, but out locally they've done a good job of getting into the local pubs and restaurants, and so you're kind of almost guaranteed in my part of town anyway. When you go out, you'll find a Hope tap in one of the local pubs, or if you go to a restaurant, they usually have their bottles, and so it's really good to see kind of local beer being served in local pubs and restaurants, and I've never had any issues with their quality. I've always really enjoyed them, and they've had some really, really standout specials.
Yeah. You wouldn't see Hope down here. The only way I can get them is Craft Central now.
Okay.
That's mine. There's not too many, unless I go to Kilkenny to the Wine Street. That's it's in the bottle shop.
I know that place.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that, like, with lockdown and everything, that's an hour round trip kind of. So
Yes.
yeah, and yeah, I'm trying to stick to the restrictions that kind of go on now. We won't mention about COVID, or maybe we'll. What way do you think, when the bars and pubs open up, do you think there will be a boom, or do you think people will stick with the new beers they've tried? Because I've heard there's a Black Donkey. He was putting in even slabs of bottles in or cans into the local shops, and they were outselling. He had to put in more.
Well.
Yeah, I think he mentioned it on Wayne and Janice at the Beer Snobs podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, I think people will want to continue drinking these beers, because, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's fine. I love a pint of Guinness, right? And anytime I'm in the city centre, when the pubs are open, I always go into the likes of into Grogan's or into the Palace, and I have a really good pint of Guinness. But I think once people have tried, over the last year, they've tried local beer, they've tried craft beer, I think they're going to want it. But the problem will be there's going to be a massive push from Diageo and from Heineken to secure taps when the pubs reopen. And they're going to promise them, the moon and the stars. They'll do what they do to try and push out some local breweries. And I think it's going to be down to consumer demand. I think people will have to go in and just say, if you're not supporting local, we'll choose not to support your business, sort of a thing, And I think pubs in Ireland need to kind of change as well. They need to start offering up a different selection, even dedicating one or two taps to local beer, and showing appreciation as well for, if they're looking for local support, well, then they need to give some support back to local breweries. I still think it's going to be a real challenge to win those taps over. I think where we need to look, where we need to keep pushing, is in the direction of tap rooms, and trying to get ourselves into a situation where we can kind of catch up with the UK and the rest of Europe.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. Yeah, that legislation, I don't know, seems pretty weak to me. Well, I can't see much coming out of it.
No, it's a halfway house. It's you have to do your tour. It's not what we want, and it would be good for breweries to have the direct sales, because I know from what I've seen, a lot of the breweries in the UK, a lot of them, a lot of that money that they make from those direct sales in their tap room, that's the sort of money that they can really kind of pump back into the business. Because they don't have to pay, they don't have to lose margin, like they do when they sell to bottle shops and off licenses and pubs.
Yeah, I think a lot of them do sell at the same price because they don't want to push out local pubs, or just, I'm not sure. I think they don't discount their own beer and their own tap. Maybe they do. I thought a lot of them, because your local pub is not going to stock you if
of course.
Yeah, maybe I'm not sure. Yeah, but I think that's what is needed here. Are a lot of them located in the right place? So a lot of the breweries. So
No, well, but it's the same in the UK. I mean, it's always industrial estates.
yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
it's well, not always, but you know,
or yeah, they're all like O'Hara's is here now. It's located in an industrial estate. I don't
yeah,
know which
Hope,
one people want to it.
Hope as well.
Yeah, but Hope is in a good place, like a good tourist place. I think.
Yeah,
It's that kind of location. Has some transport, things like that. And yeah. Um. Yeah, and then offering of kind of food. I think kind of 360 kind of thing might help them.
yeah.
You
I,
know?
I like I think like a lot of them could, you know, they could because they're in those industrial estates. They have a lot of space at the front, so they could easily provide some support to some of the local kind of food trucks and
Yeah,
stuff like that. You know, and so you're supporting two kind of local independent businesses. I don't
that's
know,
it.
you know, I don't think, you know, I think the people who are going to go to a tap room, yeah, it might not impact pubs directly because, you know, they're going to drink specific beers. They're
They
going
probably
for,
wouldn't want to go to let's say, the local pubs where the younger people maybe are drinking
yeah, maybe
the
there's some
macro
of,
beers.
there's some of that,
Similar
but,
kind
you
of
know,
conversation.
they could definitely work with the local pubs, you know, they could
Yeah.
brew specific beers for kind of, for their locality and stuff like that. They can do deals in terms of margins and stuff. So,
What's your favorite international brewery or beer? We say.
um, it's a good question. Um, I've liked I've liked most of the stuff I've had from Cloudwater and Verdant. Really good. I like my mixer and my lambic stuff. So I like Treefontaine. Really really good stuff there. I'm trying to think what else I've had. Yeah, I think they're probably the kind of standouts for me internationally.
What do you have in your beer fridge? 'Cause your beer fridge is one of my favorite things to look at on Instagram. It's always full
Thank
of nice beers.
Oh, it's great. Do you know what? The amount of messages I get, right? So I think it was around just before Christmas. I said to myself because it was kind of getting out of control, like just with lockdown and stuff last year. It was getting crazy. I was going overboard, right, with the like craft central orders, or I was ordering like stuff from directly from breweries or whatever.
Yeah,
And just before Christmas, I said, "Listen, like a lot of the stuff, you know, with the IPAs and stuff, they should be obviously trying fresh." Um, so I was like, "What I need to do is I need to clear the fridge out so that when I'm ordering the stuff, I'm kind of drinking it. You know, I finish up and then I order more." So I
yeah.
said to myself, I'm going to try and kind of clear the fridge, not order anything for a while. And then, so what I do order, I'm drinking as fresh as possible. The amount, so come January, the fridge was fairly empty. The amount of messages I got from people saying, "Is everything okay? Your fridge is, your fridge is
I think
very
I
bare."
heard of them.
Yeah. So, no, I do. I like, that's one of my favorite things about my Instagram page is the kind of the reveal, the kind of the fridge opening. But yeah, it's always getting. I tell you, getting that shed and getting a beer fridge was probably a bad idea. But a smaller fridge would have probably been healthier.
How much money do you spend on beer then? A month or a year? Whatever you have worked out.
No comment. I I'd fear for my life if if that figure was revealed. I don't know. It kind of depends. It depends. So sometimes, I'm not actually a big drinker. I think Antroman, and I think it was Antroman, maybe Cueva from the beer club,
Yeah.
or Kate O'Driscoll gave me the name of Half Points. Because anytime I used to go out with them, I tend to drink, for my sins, half pints, just so I could get through, you know, different types of beers without absolutely getting myself in the state. But so I don't drink loads. Maybe not as much as people probably, or my family watching my Instagram probably assume I do. But
Okay.
I spend enough. I spend enough money. I should probably cut back.
About drinking, then, would you drink every day or just the weekend? Just curious.
Yeah, there was a time. There was a time when I was having maybe one beer a day in the evening time, obviously. And I go through different kind of phases. For the last while, it's been primarily at the weekend. Just it's just with work and stuff. It's just too hard sometimes. Just to, but the odd evening, especially last year. Probably last year, I was probably having a few drinks during the week. I think in April and May the weather was fantastic, and just boredom, and
Yeah.
with nothing else to do. And sometimes, I might go back. If the weather's particularly nice during the summer, particularly after a day in work, it's nice to have a beer. But no, I don't. I never go over the top during the week. It tends to be at the weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't during the week. Like I wouldn't drink. Be Friday,
Yeah.
Saturdays usually. Um. Yeah. Are we alone? That's the question. Are we alone? I've asked everyone this time. Come on, so.
Is this a spiritual part of the conversation?
You can take it whatever way you want.
Yeah. If Jesus, I wasn't expecting it to go this deep, but I'll have a quick beer first. If we're talking about in a defined sense, personally, yes, we're alone. I don't put too much thought into that stuff personally. Each to their own, though. But I believe in a secular society, so everybody can do their own thing. If we're talking in terms of the universe, who knows? There could be two bodies drinking some beer, having a conversation on another planet about their version of beer.
Okay.
I think that one's probably more realistic.
Okay. Different way you take the question. 3 words that our friend would describe you as.
Oh, Jesus.
You only get harder from here, so don't worry.
Okay, this is the tough stuff. Friendly. Whoa. Friendly. Probably. Kind. I hope. And open.
Okay. Dream job. Not that you're already in your dream job if your boss is working or listening. But dream job.
My dream job would be probably owning my own business, and doing something related to probably food, maybe coffee, and beer. I kind of some sort of thought about maybe, well, had a kind of general conversation about maybe bagels. Nobody in this nobody in my surrounding area is doing anything any decent kind of bagels and stuff like that. So kind of, I know there's tons of food trucks around at the moment, but yeah, doing something kind of food related maybe that nobody else is doing.
Do you like to cook then? Would you consider yourself a good cook, or do you like to cook?
No, I love cooking. I really enjoy it. I've really tried over the last year to kind of do a few more pieces. Really tried my hand at making decent pizzas. Kind of worked. But I really like kind of, that kind of New York kind of delicatessen type food.
Yeah.
Pastrami kind of sandwiches, like sourdough breads. So yeah, dream job would be to work in that sort of environment. Like yeah, maybe have a bagel business, who knows? Keep an eye out.
Okay. Do you have any bad habits?
Ooh, my wife would probably say a few. Just trying to, yeah, leaving, not putting clothes away, throwing everything on a chair, and magically expecting those to disappear, but they never do.
Okay. Do you wake up happy or sad?
Sad, probably most mornings.
Why?
I don't know, just maybe not sad, but I always wake up anxious. I rarely wake up relaxed. Don't ask me why. Maybe I just have, I tend to overthink a lot, so I think that probably has a bit to do with it. But I wake up, come downstairs, make a nice coffee, and that kind of gets me going.
What do you dream about then?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Maybe this is the kind of talk that I've needed, Maybe I'll wake up happy tomorrow, Thomas, Yeah, I dream of past experiences, I guess. About worries, day-to-day worries and stuff like that. Probably about work.
Okay. Perfect day. We'll move off it then. Perfect day.
Perfect day. Pretty easy. Fairly simple, easy going. Throw the dogs in the back of the car. Head somewhere, like St. Anne's Park with my wife, or out to Howth. I don't know if you know Howth, coastal town, really nice.
Yeah.
And just spend the day kind of walking around, stopping at a pub. Obviously, if Anya's driving, get some food, have a bit of a picnic. Just nice and easy. The kind of more easygoing the day is, the more I tend to enjoy. Kind of midweek with work and stuff, I get fairly stressed out. So yeah, just something nice and simple, nice easy day.
Yeah, easy going. What makes you angry then?
So many things. Yeah, I don't know. Plenty of political things to get angry about over the last couple of years. Work um, gets often gets me angry. Seeing beer reviews that are very, very generous to some breweries that I know when I've had the beer prior, and I know I know it's down to everybody kind of has their own experience when they drink a beer, but sometimes it's when you know they've got some free beer and they give it a glowing review, and you just know in your heart and soul it's not great. That gets me angry.
Okay. When's the last time you cried?
Yesterday.
And why?
Not to get too deep, it was my mum's birthday.
Okay. That's good. Any pet peeves?
I don't really get wound up by stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. No,
Okay.
I don't really have any of those.
Okay. What were you like in school then? Did you have a
What was
nickname?
what was I like in school?
Yeah.
I always got on pretty well in school, I think. Yeah, like I was a bit of an in-betweener, I was kind of got on well with everybody, did pretty good, like not great, not, not bad,
How
but
many
pretty good.
points?
But
How many points do you get in your leaving cert then if you?
I can barely remember. I think it was about at 390 maybe.
Okay. Pretty okay then. Did any teachers inspire you then in school?
Yeah, my English teacher, kind of, she was everybody hated her. She was kind of the terrifying teacher that nobody really liked, and people dreaded her class. But I don't know. She was always kind of. I think she liked me. Um, I kind of showed an interest, and so she liked that about me, and kind of always kind of pushed me on, and I always enjoyed English, and so always kind of enjoyed reading and stuff like that. So I think
Okay. Other than half points, do you have any other nicknames from school? We say.
Callow. So my surname's Callahan, so that was shortened to Callow, and that was my name that was with me for most of my life. Also, I was very small, very short, throughout school, right up until I think I was 16. I had a growth spurt, but up until that point, I was very small, and so most people in school would have referred to me as Little Mark. Um, throughout my school days, that's the thing that kind of stood out about me, and that's the name I was given. So,
Do you have any tattoos?
one
Okay.
in between my shoulder blades, some stupid bloody tattoo I got when I was 21 that I was told I'd regret later on, and I do.
Okay. What is it? Oh, very fair. I can ask.
Fuck, stupid Celtic fucking tattoo. Excuse my language. Yeah.
Oh, that's the question. Do you have any regrets then?
Oh, I have a few regrets. That's definitely one of them. Yeah, I have a couple. I got yeah, back 2008. I was I was at a house party, and there was a scuffle outside. I tried to intervene, break it up, and I ended up with a broken jaw. So regret that big time. But no, thankfully,
Thanks, Mark.
pretty happy as things stand at the moment. So,
What do you eat for breakfast? Easy question.
most mornings I don't have any. But if I do, simple, just oats, just porridge.
Okay. If I had a plane ticket in front of me for you, anywhere in the world for free, and COVID was gone, where would you go to?
New England.
And would you bring your wife?
Yeah.
Okay. And why New England?
Beer and food. I mean, it's probably so much stuff is coming out of there. So many great breweries. I was supposed to go to the US is such a great spot for food and beer. I mean, I don't know if you've watched the Craft Beer channel at all.
Sometimes, yeah.
So they did a documentary about New England, and so they visited, a lot of the well-known breweries and some of the less well-known, and just about the impact that it's had on craft beer. And yeah, I'd love to go there. I love the US. I was supposed to go to Philadelphia last March. Literally, I was flying the day after I think Trump announced the travel restrictions into the US. I wouldn't have been able to go because we were on the verge of kind of properly locking down here. So, but yeah, I had a few breweries lined up for that trip. Couldn't go. Okay. Hopefully I'll get to reschedule at some stage. But yeah, no, the US is brilliant. More locally, I'd like to go to Copenhagen. A couple of spots there that I'd like to try.
Are you well traveled or?
Well enough. I like traveling. I've been to the US a few times. New York, Vegas, been West Coast, LA, San Francisco, been to Miami. Yeah, a couple of places, obviously in Europe, a few spots as well. So I'd like to travel. I went to Toronto a couple of years ago as well. Couple of nice little beer scene there. I'd like to go more places, but yeah, that's not going to happen anytime soon. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Biggest fear for the future?
Oh. So many. So many.
What's the biggest?
Just good question. That I'll run out of beer. But now, I don't know. I'm worried. It's not that, like, in terms of the beer scene and stuff like that. I'm worried that a lot of the pubs that I love in town, in the city centre, Dublin, I'm really worried about them in terms of their survival and stuff like that. And what it's going to look like when the country does properly reopen. What businesses will still be around. I think that's a big fear. In terms of people's jobs and a recession, that's a big worry as well. Like, we've already lived through a fairly shitty recession, so the thoughts of going through another one is a bit kind of scary. And yeah, loads of change at the moment as well. Not to get too deep, but with Brexit, that's caused havoc for businesses on this island. And yeah, you just, like, I don't know. There's a lot of change at the moment, globally, and it's just where does it all end is my biggest fear.
Do you
not to get
expect tax to go up?
I'd say so, yeah. I'd say
Um,
it'll
yeah,
depend on how many people return to work when the restrictions are finally lifted, because there'll be a lot of people that will need support, rightly so, and tax will cover that.
okay. For the pubs, then, do you think many of them will go to the wall? I hate to say that word, but
Yeah, some will. It'll depend on what the restriction. There will still be restrictions, no doubt. It's an ongoing health emergency, so even with the mass vaccination and stuff, so it'll just depend on how many people they can get in there. Given the size, the scale, the circumstances of the pub. Ones that don't obviously have beer gardens are fairly limited with space, indoor space. But I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to tell, but yeah.
Do you think some of the pubs need to change because they're kind of stuck in a pattern before COVID, and they need
Yeah,
to adapt to the new future?
there's so many. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's loads of. It's great. It's great having traditional pubs. Who do certain ones do it really well. Who put an emphasis on pouring a really good pint of Guinness or whatever. But yeah, there's so many that are just the same. You walk in, they have the same lineup of taps. They offer the same type of food. They're not original. They don't do any. They don't all have to turn into hipster bars either. Do you know what I mean? You can
Yeah,
have, you know, like if you look over to the UK, loads of really good traditional pubs who offer a selection of real ales and local
yeah,
beers, and some really good kind of traditional food options, but done really, really well. So you can do the traditional thing. You don't have to change the interior of the pub, but you can just maybe put a bit more kind of thought into what food you're going to offer. Keep it traditional, keep it kind of that Irish kind of, like, keep the menu kind of along traditional Irish lines, but do it really well. But just support local breweries and just give bar staff a bit of education, in terms of being able to talk about the beers. You don't have to be. You don't have to be kind of properly trained in terms of being able to talk about beer and discuss beer. You can give. It's good to have that, but just give them the basics, even. But
even
that's
if it's notes or something. Say if someone had to go check notes for not
tasting
to.
notes. Write
Yeah,
them on the back of. Write them on a post-it. Stick them on the back of a tap, and give
yeah,
the tasting. Just the basics. But they're like, it's not kind of the kind of craft side of. There used to be that, like, that kind of was lost somewhere along the line, but they're that kind of, it used to be more of a craft rather than just kind of, a
yeah.
job. That's
So I
kind of.
heard someone who's used to start working in a hotel, and when they went working in the bar before they got to pull a pint, that they knew how to change the tap, how to clean the lines.
Yeah,
He said bar people don't know how to do that because the Diageo come in and say, we'll clean the Guinness line for you, and the rest, they don't know how to do
yeah.
basics.
I'll turn the light on here.
Okay.
But
So
yeah,
first
no,
place,
it's go ahead.
first place you'll visit when pubs open, if they open. First pub or first pint you'll get.
Um, Probably the Attic Bar in Swords, or the Cock Tavern, also in Swords. Attic Bar always have Larkins on draft, and the Cock Tavern always have a tap dedicated to Hope. So I hope when they reopen, they still do.
Yeah, they should. Yeah, They probably would. I'd say a lot of places who've had them before should continue on with them. Any bad experiences in bars with ordering, other than that, one of you tried to order O'Hara's or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to bars who where I've ordered craft beer or whatever, and the tap has, the keg has probably been sat there for weeks, kind of untouched. Or I know that there's a beer on tap, and I've asked them for it, and they've told me that they don't have that because they literally don't know what's on tap. So I've sat down at a table and said, "Can I have that IPA?" And they were like, "Oh no, we don't do that." When I know I've seen it written on a board that they do, but it comes down to the education thing again.
Yeah, not knowing what to. Favorite food pairing then with a pint.
Standard oysters with stout. Can't beat it. And it doesn't have to be fancy stout. Nice pint of Guinness. And some nice oysters.
Nice Vanessa. Yeah. Where do you see it going then, the industry? Do you think it's been stuck at 3% in Ireland?
Yeah, I think Ireland is a special case because Diageo has such a massive hold. It's a small market, and they have a massive hold. They have a huge marketing budget, and so even I spoke with I think it was, I don't know if you remember a brewery called Wood Key.
I think I do. Yeah.
I remember talking to one of the guys from Wood Key years ago, and he told me that they had been, I think it was in Skerries. It was one of the local towns. They had been in discussions. There was every year there's a local kind of festival or whatever, and they had been in discussion with them about having some sort of kind of a beer element, maybe sponsoring the event, kind of having some local beers. And they got a phone call a couple of days later to say, sorry, but Diageo have been onto us, and they promised, to set up a stall and be the festival sponsor. And that was just a small little local festival. So it's really hard, when local breweries really try to kind of get involved in the local community, they tend to be squeezed out. And I even down Hope are 5 miles away, and in fairness, I've seen them. There's been a couple. There was the Flavors in Fingal festival, which was going on every year. Obviously, not going to happen. It didn't happen last year. Won't happen this year. But Hope have always had a little tent at that festival. But in Swords, in my town, in the castle, there's always a kind of a heritage festival every year, and it's always I don't see Hope there, but I always see Diageo, and there is a couple of local breweries that could be invited, but just don't, and it's because of that marketing budget that Diageo have, and so it's going to be really tough. It's going to be lockdown. COVID was good because people couldn't go to the pub, and it pushed them into trying something different. So I think there should be an increase in consumer, consumers demanding something better. But it's going to be an uphill struggle here because the pubs don't want to change. They don't know anything different. They don't know anything better than Heineken, Diageo. They're easy to manage, those lines.
Yeah.
They don't have to take special care of the keg. They don't have to talk about the beer. They're being offered, well, well, I know, we hear stories of, pubs getting their cellars paid for, upgraded and paid for. Whether they're true or not, I don't know, but that's what's often said. So when it comes to local breweries trying to get a foot in the door, they're pushed back at every stage. So I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's but I think what we'll see is, some of we'll probably see a consolidated markets. Where some breweries will fall by they'll fall away, and because they're not offering anything different.
Yeah.
And the ones that are better at the marketing side of things, or better at kind of getting taps, getting keg lines, kind of putting themselves out there, trying to participate in festivals, they're the ones that will hang around.
Yeah, I've heard one brewer saying that there'll probably be maybe a handful who will be national brewers who will export, and then there'll be another ones who will be kind of regional breweries.
Yeah.
That you might find the beers outside their area once in a while, but they'll concentrate on the region.
That makes sense, yeah.
I've also heard stories of around Dublin, certain pubs not having Guinness, and the Diageo reps going in and multiple times trying to getting tapped, the Guinness tap in.
Yeah.
Saying that they're being unfair to stout drinkers for not having Guinness in their.
Yeah, I mean, there's like locally there was in one of my local pubs, they had a nitro stout, and they had a pale ale, and occasionally a red ale, and they were all brewed by Rye River.
Yeah.
And I loved the nitro stout. And I used to order it every time I went in there. But I think prior to obviously COVID, I think the last few months of me going in there, they didn't have the stout. They'd stopped doing it. And I always wondered, because I'd been told that it had sold quite well, but I always wondered, was it because they were squeezed, they were pushed,
There are so many free kegs of other.
Yeah, to get rid of it, So
yeah.
You don't know, but you hear certain allegations or whatever, but
it's a murky, I'd say, kind of things. Murky part of the industry, I'd say, of getting taps.
Yeah.
Okay. I need a good. I run a lot of questions now. You've answered most of them. Are you looking forward to any beers coming out? Have you heard of any new releases?
No, I need to try. I need to try some of the Curious Society beers. I've had the oatmeal, the coffee stout.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried any of the others, and I hear they're pretty good. Like I think that's, their markings are. I really enjoy their beers, and I know they're trying to obviously go after kind of some of that supermarket business, obviously with those Curious Society, that Curious Society range. So, and from what I see on Instagram, the feedback seems to be pretty good. So, I need to get hold of those.
Yeah, I think haven't have a new one coming out there.
I've seen that. Yeah, that does look good. It's a sour, is it?
Is it sour? I'm not sure. I seen it was kind of red. That's all I've seen on the post. Probably is a sour with Joe, something different, moving away.
Yeah. No, look, I like the pale ale, the juicy pale ale that Ballykilcavin do. I can't think of it off the top of my head, the name. But no, I like all their beers, but that one kind of sticks out to me. They're based in it's Larkins. They're based in Wicklow, I think close to Bray. Just to
Yeah,
answer
see that's
your
what that.
question there, Alan. But yeah, no, yeah, Joe's a great brewer. I've really enjoyed. I like the Bambrick, the brown ale that
Yeah,
Paddy Gavin do. That's really really good. Really like brown ales. The one that Rye River brew for Lidl is really good as well. I don't know if you've had that one.
yeah, I've heard it a few times. Yeah, I'm not literally kind of far away from me now, but
Yeah,
I always pick up that. I always pick up a few of them. I'm in.
yeah,
Um,
you can't beat those. Like they're really good beers. There's I have two Lidls or Lidls right like the 10 minutes either way from
yeah,
me, so I never have a problem there. Getting those beers, but they're always really good. I always kind of stock up on those during the
they're
summer.
consistently for the price, and they're consistent at what they
Yeah,
do. Like,
they're really good. The session the IPA is really good. I like the saison too, and they tend to have the McGargles range there as well. I always pick up some of the session IPA, which I haven't actually in a while, so I need to do that.
yeah. What do you think of this minimum pricing coming in? Do you think it will affect?
I don't know. I think it's. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna have much of an impact in terms of health, in terms of you know, I think it's behaviors that drive, you know, alcohol
Excess,
abuse and
like,
stuff like
yeah,
I think it's more. It tends to be a case of politicians being seen to do something instead of actually tackling the real problems, and it'll hurt businesses. Um, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Um,
yeah. They've said it has worked in Scotland, whether
yeah,
you can believe the figures or not. I know I've seen some of the price changes when I went in Wales, and they're kind of there's quite a difference in some of the prices between, let's say, England and Wales that time.
yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to know.
yeah. We'll see. I guess over the next few months.
I think it's next year it's coming in, whether it'll be reversed or watered
Oh
down
yeah.
now. Give it an
Oh
extension
yeah.
of Northern Ireland. Do you think any problems that way? Do you think that anything could be helped to, let's say, the craft industry, or is it tap rooms is the main thing?
Yeah. I think tap rooms will definitely have a huge influence in terms of just being able for the breweries to be able to get people in, and be able to kind of get those direct sales. I think that's a
Yeah,
huge thing for them, because yeah, they don't have to fight for shelf space in bottle shops off licenses. It is hard. Like I think some breweries do pubs and restaurants. They get that business and they do it well. I think Hope have done it particularly well, where they have been able to get those contracts, get a tap, especially around this area. Go into restaurants that they seem to really know their market. They know it really well. But I think for some of the breweries, I think it's just about trying to. I think some of the breweries don't help themselves. They need to need to put more. Like it's one thing brewing good beer, but you need to be able to market your beer as well. You don't have to have a massive marketing budget. It's just in terms of label design. Having having a focus on the overall aesthetic of your brewery. So people when they look at when they see a can, they know it belongs to a certain brewery. Um, you know, even so, like very few breweries over here really do merchandise really well, and some of them laugh at it. They kind of belittle the idea of merch, and I see it on Twitter, I see it on Instagram. But if you look at some of the European breweries and the UK breweries, they really kind of have a strong idea of what their brand, not in a kind of corporate sense, but they have an idea of what their brand is, and that kind of you see that throughout their their tap room, their merchandise, hoodies, they all have you can go online, you can purchase t-shirts, hoodies, glasses, glassware,
Yeah.
and it's instantly recognizable. Like, when you go to a bottle shop and you see their beers, Irish breweries need a bit of a kick. Some of them do it well, but a lot of them don't bother. And it's just even like this is like one of my favorite breweries from Northern Ireland is Boundary. I
Yeah.
also like but they really kind of their cans are really distinctive. They have keen attention to detail in terms of glassware. Same with Beer Hut. And I think that's what needs to happen here. Very few. I know Hope do it. I know Old Brother do it, but very few breweries you can go onto their website if you want to get if you want to buy glassware. This here, like every time somebody posts a photograph or Tiny Rebel, excuse me. Every time somebody posts a picture on Instagram or Twitter with a beer in one of their glasses,
Yeah.
Obviously, well, not in this case, but you've got Boundary or you've got, Cloudwater. They're plastered on the glass. Everybody knows who it is. People know what that person's drinking, and there needs to be a focus on that. There needs to be. I think some of the breweries really need to kind of maybe go to events and stuff where you've got people who maybe wouldn't necessarily be into craft beer, but they can try and take time to explain the product, farmers markets, food fairs, and just try and get some new people into it as well. But they need to really have a presence, I think, in the community and really, really push to try and get at least one consistent tap in a local pub. But yeah, I think it's down to some of the breweries really make an effort. The likes of Whiplash have done a really good job at like pushing their brands, going for export sales in the UK. They're well known over there. They're probably with themselves and maybe White Hag are probably the only breweries from Ireland that people really know over there. I mean, they're only next door, but there's very few Irish breweries that have established themselves over there. And I seen Million Bevs put a brief to someone, asked them, what Irish beers have you tried lately? And he said none. He said because I rarely see any on the shelves over here, and that's a bit crazy. But I know there's loads of great breweries. We have loads of great breweries where like awash with fantastic beer. But I just think and it's great that people that the breweries are concentrating on getting the beer right. But it's one thing getting the beer right, but they need to get that marketing right as well. And you can do it. You can do it well without big budgets. I'll probably get panned out breweries.
Terrible. Yeah, I think I heard with Beer 52 a lot. A lot of people get, I think, that way.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's sustainable, they're probably buying in bulk to fill their box orders, so it's probably a good way to get it out.
How do you feel about some breweries selling to supermarkets?
grand. Sure, it's once they're making a profit, once it's affordable for them, no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
Now it's when the supermarkets have them, we say after we say 6 or 8 months, and they say, well, we're going to have to drop it by 5 cents a can or something, and that's the profit margin. And the only way to do that is to drop the alcohol in the beer,
yeah.
or drop the can size, so they go from 440 to 330, or that's when I have a problem with it.
Okay.
What do you think of BrewDog then? Because BrewDog have lowered their alcohol and some of their.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, I think Punk IPA has come down again to 5.4, I think.
Yeah.
But I think, is that for VAT purposes sometimes? Because,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But do you think you just create a new beer then and leave the old Punk? It's going to go up in price now. That's sorry, put out the tax has gone up.
I wouldn't assume they do that, because it's too hard to, like, when you have an established brand like Punk, a lot of people who are going to the supermarkets and picking it up, they're not going out of their way to look at maybe the ABV, or you and me will notice, right? And people within this community who really know their beer, like their beer, will notice a change in ABV, because we're on Twitter, we're on forums, we're having these sorts of discussions. But the regular Joe who, likes picking up a Punk IPA but doesn't really think about it too much, are they really going to notice?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't.
Yeah. I suppose the way it's going. What do you think of the alcohol-free beer?
I'm for it. We've had we picked up a couple of those 4-packs of the alcohol-free Punk, and it's nice during the week, because if I don't want to drink, but I want to I don't want to, I want something different than water or minerals or whatever, it kind of gives me a bit of that kind of sharp, crisp kind of, I know,
Yeah.
almost beer but not beer, kind of something a bit more kind of.
What do you think the Irish scene then in the, we'll say that there's more of a low alcohol, say teeny tiny or Northern Lights from Whiplash, kind of 2.5%, 3% beers.
Yeah, I love those beers. I mean, it's really impressive. I've had teeny tiny. I got a case of that actually. I think around this time last year. It's really good. Yeah, I love those beers. I like, they're still complex, and you get kind of all those flavors. You get that most importantly, the mouthfeel from those beers that you get from the bigger beers, because often, you can make a sessional hoppy beer, but in a lot of cases you lose the mouthfeel, you lose the body. But with those beers, you still have that, and they're great if you want to have a couple of beers, but you still have plans later on in the evening. It's nice just to sit out the back in the sun, enjoy one of those low ABV beers. But now in terms of the proper alcohol-free beers, I know there's a couple of dedicated breweries in the UK that do alcohol-free beers. I think they're probably going to get more popular, because I think, looking at the statistics, there's less people drinking alcohol, and they are handy to have midweek. Like I said, if you don't want minerals, if you want something crisp, clean, and sharp, it's nice just to have one of those, and it kind of almost gives you the effect.
I don't have a question there. What do you think?
Carry on. Yeah. I mean, so long as those beers don't change, if Yeah, it's not everybody has access to a specialist off license or to a bottle shop and stuff. So it's nice that people can pick those up. And so long as they're still able to turn a profit, I mean, it's going to be hard for off if they're if those some of those specialist off licenses have one of those supermarkets on their doorstep and they're selling the same beers at a higher price, they're gonna find it hard to shift those beers. But maybe if they concentrate on giving a core range to Lidl and then some specials to the specialist bottle shops and off licenses, it could work better that way. But I got into beer. I got into beer years ago by going to the supermarket and by picking up different beers that I hadn't tried before. Usually at the time it started off with Belgian beers like Duvel and whatever they had at the time, and if that was my entry into craft beer, then of course I went on to look for different beers, go to the likes of McHugh's, which would be probably the closest specialist off license to me. But that's it's probably a good place to be for those breweries because people will be doing their weekly shop and they'll start picking up stuff that maybe they haven't tried before, and that will lead them to maybe later on then going seeking out some of those special bottle shops and off licenses.
Yeah, the quality from brew seems to have upped a lot lately. I've got a few of their beers. They seem to be in Super Value here now, in the bottles anyhow, and they seem to be pretty good. They were kind of lower.
They were bought, I think, over by Carrick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think they've really kind of taken a step back, and it sounds like they've really concentrated on the quality, and they've kind of done a bit of a rebrand as well. I think with the core cans and stuff like that. So that's really good to hear. Yeah, I had I think I had their Pilsner there a couple of weeks ago and enjoyed that. So I must pick up the core beers and see what I think.
Yeah, it's nice to see him brewing something like a Pilsner, something crisp and clean, something easy to drink.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I started kind of drinking more lagers, and over the last couple of months, it's really particularly like if on a nice day, it's nice to kind of drink something that's kind of crisp and clean, and it's nice to take a break from IPAs and kind of lagers are something I traditionally stayed away from. So it's nice to kind of they're relatively new for me, so it's nice trying something different and investigating those types of beers, kind of getting a better understanding of them.
Yeah, I would have stayed away from lagers a good bit too, and wouldn't have drunk them a lot. And I've stayed away from IPAs for the last couple of months. I think that's the first IPA I've had in a long time. First proper IPA. Just you need to reset your taste buds, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I do. I get sick of them. I get sick of it, like the kind of as much as I drink them, the New England IPAs. Sometimes some of them can be very samey. If it gets to a point where you just every can you open, you're not getting anything new. And they just tend to overwhelm your kind of taste buds as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice to take a break from some of the bigger beers in particular, and just try something different.
The Coke Sour.
Yeah, I seen that. I did want to try that. I had it in one of my baskets. I think I was going to order that from Craft Central and decided not to in the end. But yeah, damn, I wish I got that. It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And it sounds like something that would work as well.
I'm not sure. I'm still not convinced.
No, I love Northern Monk. Or actually, you asked me earlier about kind of standout breweries from other countries. I love Northern Monk. I was part of their subscription. I'd signed up to their subscription, I think, just before Christmas, and I got a January box, and then or I got December's box, and then Brexit hit, and they cancelled all EU subscriptions. So that was pretty disappointing because the beers I got in the first box were really, really good, and I like that they obviously take the quality of their beer seriously, but they're able to have a bit of fun as well.
Yeah, they seem like they're pretty good. Only
Yeah.
beers that anymore.
Yeah, the Patrons Project, and this comes back to it. Their beer is so distinctive. You go into an off license, and when you see the cans, it's their beers, and they've got a kind of clear aesthetic, and yeah, they're doing what they do really well. I'd love to go to their tap room. It looks like it's a really impressive place.
Yeah. Any other tap rooms you'd like to visit? We say we'll go UK then, if it's the nearest place to us.
Yeah. Well, the experiment, which is kind of I think Verdant or Verdant, I should say, he's pronounced properly. They're involved in. I think that's in London. That looks pretty impressive. Where else would I like to? Cloudwater, obviously. I think, but just in terms of cities, I'd like to go to Manchester. There just seems to be a lot happening there. It seems to be like a really exciting kind of beer scene. Leeds,
Yeah.
pretty impressive place as well. I should have probably maybe did my homework a bit and kind of wrote down a couple of spots that I'd like to visit in particular.
Yeah.
But
I'd like to go as well, Manchester and Leeds.
Manchester and Leeds just really stand out. And I think they're probably, in terms of looking at Dublin, because I don't get me wrong, I love Dublin, but I think the beer scene in Dublin is probably one of the kind of quietest in Europe, including the UK and stuff. And so maybe kind of using Manchester or Leeds as a target in terms of where we should be. It'd be good to go over there and kind of get a feel for the beer scene and see where potentially we could take it here, but we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be getting any politicians or anything like that involved. It's going to be taboo now. I think alcohol or beer is going to be trying to promote that.
They won't want anything to do with us.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. In terms of, there might be an opportunity in terms of jobs. Because microbreweries don't achieve industry scale, they tend to employ quite a lot of people, and so maybe given that there's going to be it's going to be a struggle getting the economy kind of back up and running after lockdown.
Jobs and tourism.
Yeah, maybe this is an opportunity for those breweries to come together and just kind of push local TDs and stuff and say, listen, we have the potential to create additional jobs by opening a tap room. And there's a lot of people in the hospitality sector that have lost their jobs. We want to give them jobs. Give us what we need to open up. So there's potential there, but I think it's going to take a combined effort by the breweries.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, crazy. €18. I bought I think it was a McKellar beer one time. I spent it wasn't €18, but it was close to it, and I swore to myself. I hated myself. I drank it. It was okay, and I hated myself for spending that much money. So when I see any of that stuff, even I see there's a lot of American beers now, a lot of US imports on Craft Central, and
Yeah.
I stay clear of those because they're not worth it for the price.
No.
Better
I
off
think
buying.
that
It's fresher. It's it's at a point where it's almost as good. Um, it's not worth spending that sort of money. No way.
yeah. I don't know how. It's just too much. I think you should support local at that price. Supporting local is the way to go. I think.
Absolutely. It's just like given the like given the amount of time it's taken to get over here. I mean the golfing quality as well between what we have. It's not as wide as it used to be, and like we've loads of local breweries who need our help, and the more we buy from them, the better they're going to get in terms of quality.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's crazy money. That's crazy
What's the
for
most expensive beer then?
like I'd spend the money on like on if I was spending that money, right, and I wouldn't do it on a regular basis, but if I was, I'd spend it on like a lambic, on some mixed firm, something that that is it's special,
Yeah.
and that I'm going to sit back and I'm going to take my time, really going to enjoy it, and that's okay. But most of what I get is like in my fridge. I picked up a load of the White Hag releases in Lidl. Little Fawn, their hazy IPA, and then I tend to go Hope because it's local, so I always
Yeah.
have some Hope in the fridge. Larkin's Whiplash because like when it comes to IPAs, they're the masters. And then kind of a mixed bag, some Ballycavin. What else do I have at the moment? Some DOS. And I think I have some lineman stuff as well. But yeah, the majority of what I get is either from is well, I'd say 80% of what I drink is from Ireland. Is
Yeah.
relatively local. Then the rest is made up by some of the stuff coming from the European breweries. So it's nice to see there's more stuff coming over. And then obviously quite a bit from the UK.
Yeah, I'm all surprised. There's nothing from France. I know they're more of a wine place, but I haven't seen any beers coming from
Yeah,
France.
I mean, I'm surprised we haven't seen like there's a massive beer scene in Poland. I'm so surprised we haven't seen more Polish beers.
Yeah.
Um, like given that like we have a significant Polish population in Ireland as well. Yeah, that surprised me. France as well. Yeah, I think maybe we'll see some more European stuff coming over, trickling over now, maybe. Um, but yeah, I am surprised. But it is nice to see some of the good UK breweries kind of on the shelves here because it's a nice way to benchmark where the beer scene is at here.
Yeah. Especially, yeah, I think we're pretty good. I think most of them like the likes of Whiplash and even Dawn, some of them are for the IPAs are they're up there with the English ones, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Like Whiplash in particular, because I think they've they know what their they know who their core audience is, and they really kind of put loads of emphasis into getting their IPAs right, and they've got they clearly have a strong following both here and over in the UK as well. So and their beers tend to score quite well on the likes of Untapped. So yeah, there's some other, like, I really like Dead Center as well. Actually, I haven't had many of their beers recently. I need to change that. I think I haven't actually. I don't think I've ordered through Beer Cloud. Yeah, they're probably the only ones that I haven't ordered through.
And at the moment, I think they have free postage for your first time. It's up on the website. So if you're thinking of it,
yeah, I need to do that, because I've been. Have you been down to the tap room or the?
No, somewhere I mean to go, but
it's brilliant. It's like it kind of like. I wish it just makes you feel like it really kind of makes you wish like you had something like that locally, you know. And we should have, every town should have kind of, you know, a similar setup locally. It's just a really well, the space that they have there is really nice. It's really good location, and the beers, when I was down there, I think it was January 2020, so only a few weeks before kind of COVID hit. I was down there and the beers were tasting fantastic on tap. So yeah, definitely highly recommend it. The pizza is really, really good too.
Yeah, I've seen they started work on the proper brewery.
Yeah.
And it's probably stopped now, but it's probably back now with the COVID, with building and that. So they should be getting more production. That should help.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's great to see. It's great to see Liam doing so well, because every time I've ever met him at some of the beer events, he's always been the nicest guy. So it's great to see him have a bit of success.
Yeah,
and their beers are brilliant as well.
And for even Beer Cloud and helping other breweries get their stuff out, which probably put him at a disadvantage, because people probably stopped stocking him because he's selling beer on his own.
Yeah, I seen that, like, when they set it up, it kind of, and I think they're using the space that they have in the tap room as well.
Yeah.
So fair play to him. You know, it's nice to see it's a real community effort. Like, he wasn't just like looking after himself, but he was trying to take care of friends and colleagues and other breweries. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah, and I think now he has someone full-time. It's a full-time job for one person now, just filling all the orders. So he's created one job,
which is great.
Yeah. And hopefully it'll last.
Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, I think what will help is hopefully when restrictions are lifted a bit here, I think there'll be loads of people going on staycations. So maybe kind of traveling around to some of the big towns and some of the cities around Ireland and stuff. So maybe they'll be dropping on into Dead Center.
Yeah, it's something unique anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth a visit, I'd say, if anyone's passing, especially. It's a good way to start a kind of food and brewery.
Yeah, it's good. It's a nice little model. I think it's probably one that will be adopted by other places. I think the frustration of not seeing changes to the law to allow tap rooms to open, we'll see some of the breweries maybe kind of, taking over a restaurant or a pub space and trying to do their own thing, kind of similar to what Liam did. Maybe they'll have, they'll keep, they'll have, an actual production brewery as well, where they fulfill their, the rest of their orders, but they'll have that small little pub or tap room on the side as a side business.
A small creative there, kind of a brew cage kind of there, just a demonstration and
I think like Yellow Belly have Grady's Yard in Waterford, and I think they
don't have any more, did they?
What?
I think they closed that a long time ago, did they?
I think Metal Man closed their one in Waterford.
Oh yeah.
But Yellow Belly, I think they still have Grady's Yard, and they have tanks, brewery fresh tank beer, and they have their beers on tap as well, just their beers as well. So, and similar setup to what Liam has. So, in Dead Center. So, yeah, I can see that becoming a thing.
Yeah, something brewers need to look at, and I know it's kind of stretching themselves in every direction if they're starting out.
Yeah,
with finance.
Yeah, and it's not easy managing a pub either. Trying to manage a brewery and a pub, you have to kind of have a certain amount of experience or whatever. So it's not easy. It would obviously be much easier to have a tap room at the brewery. It only requires a couple of benches and stuff like that. You don't need kind of much infrastructure and stuff. So we'll see what happens, but I'm not going to hold my breath. It's a shame that we have to be different, to the rest of Europe and stuff. But
using 1894 legislation or 200 years old legislation.
Yeah, it is frustrating.
Yeah. Just all we can hope is that the industry does grow.
Yeah, what do you think, Thomas? What do you think breweries can do?
I probably think they need to rent a bar or go in a partnership, or rent a bar or restaurant and do it that way, and have you go into the bar first and then you get a bus to the brewery and then you bus back. I know it could be awkward but do tours that way.
Yeah.
Kind of stag parties, or maybe not stag parties, but do say Christmas parties for workplaces, something like that, and different team events like that. I think that's where they're going to have to go. They're going to have something in a town, a presence of their own.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because I'd say there's going to be a lot of pubs that are kind of just going to, especially in the country, are just going to be gone after they open up. I said they won't open.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think, in terms of getting people, maybe regulars, of those pubs who will be used to going in and ordering a pint of Heineken or a pint of Guinness, what do you think would be the best way of trying to convince those people to try something different?
It's hard. I don't know.
Have you tried to have you had any kind of friends or family members who've been hesitant to try, certain beers before?
some wouldn't.
Yeah.
And just some people not into it. So you can't convince someone to change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. I guess maybe kind of I know like the problem is, you know, you could maybe brew a certain kind of, maybe kind of a lighter lager or have a nitro stout, but then, you know, it obviously it's going to cost that little bit more to kind of, brew on a kind of a craft stout. So when you get to the bar, probably it's going to cost that bit more than a pint of Guinness.
Yeah.
And if there's not that much of a difference in the flavor profile and stuff, will customers pay the extra money? I don't know. I don't know what the right strategy is, or offer up a craft lager, a kind of a more approachable kind of lager. But if there's, even if there's any sort of significant price difference, will people bother, or will they always go back to kind of what they know, what they see marketed all over the place in terms of sports and on TV? I'm never sure what the right approach is there. Do you offer them something close to what they already know? But then, what's the point? They might not see the point in trying something that doesn't really offer them anything that's really different. Or do you really kind of go with the approach of trying to blow their minds by giving them something that's smaller glass is actually that's a good idea.
Yeah. Kind of taster.
Yeah.
Sign say, a taste or samples available or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one. The only thing is like there's such a pint culture here that offering a small like a 2/3 glass or something might offend some punters in some of the local pubs and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard I had Celtic Beers on there a couple of weeks ago, and he said he was trying to get some people. He got some people into he works in the Brewdog bar and trying them to taste some of the different beers, and he's handing them like 2/3 of a pint, and they're kind of looking at him, and he has to convince them that the beer is a bit better, and which is always a hard point. I suppose money is hard to, if someone's going to have relax that they want their points and enough.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's drank something for a long time and they're happy enough drinking it, it's always it's a risk trying something different, particularly if you don't enjoy it. And I've kind of felt bad sometimes where I've brought friends to a couple of bars in town, like not Brewdog but Brewdock, and who may have been stout drinkers, been used to drinking Guinness, and I've ordered them, one of like the Galway Bay stouts, and the odd time they've had the reaction, oh Jesus, what's this shit, and they've just spent their money. I've just convinced them to spend their money on something that they absolutely hate, and then I feel bad, so you try to kind of convert people, get them to try something different, and then you end up annoying them and pissing them off, and it's always hard. But I don't know, like there's something about the last year where I've seen people that were adamant that they were not interested in craft beer get order after order from Craft Central. So something happened. Maybe just, Guinness in cans just didn't do it for them. And so it forced them to kind of, I had one friend in particular who used to tell me that all IPAs tasted the same, and just kind of ridiculed me for drinking craft beer. And he has completely become a convert, like a complete, like I was doing a Zoom with him and a few other friends, and there was a knock on his door, and he had got an order from the Big Romance in Dublin, and he had not only had he got some like really good cans, but he had some growlers of like rollover, one of the Whiplash session beers, and I was like, what the fuck, what the hell happened to you? Like, you ridiculed me. Like, you, every opportunity you had, you gave me a hard time. And now he's like probably just as much into the beer as I am. So I don't know what happens, but something happens. And maybe if we can kind of bottle that and then use that going forward, we can convert more people over to drinking good beer.
Yeah,
What,
I think.
what
Yeah,
do you think of House 13 being pulled out of the UK market?
I didn't like it myself. I don't know. Yeah, sales obviously weren't doing. I think there was probably more. There's too many pale ales now and IPAs, and people were just, especially in the UK, just went away from it. And
Yeah.
not sure what if the brew in Dublin is their next size on it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. I wonder what their approach is going to be now. If they're still going to try and capture some of that craft market.
Is Rockshore is by Guinness as well? Is that
That's
over
right,
in
yeah.
the
But yeah, I guess that's what they're pushing now.
Because they have a good few of them out, and
Yeah.
maybe they needed the capacity. Maybe they're going to do some low ABV beers and need the capacity.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you wouldn't know what they had, Joe, or what they have planned.
Just the UK, Alan. For the moment, anyway.
Yeah, maybe they're making enough in Ireland with it.
I don't know. Yeah. What's your favorite brewery, or one of your favorite breweries?
Ballykilcavanagh would be one. I suppose Whiplash and White Hag. Not always easily available to me, but always if you're looking for a nice beer, I suppose they're ones I go to.
Yeah. Where would you get most of your beer locally?
Locally, well, I say I just pick up O'Hara's, so local supermarket. I always have that. I know it's not. It's okay. Kind of fills the fridge for me, and then it's either Craft Central or it's an online order or into the wine centre in Kilkenny.
Yeah. I'd imagine O'Hara's is quite easy to get then locally, is it?
Yeah, they're in most of the SuperValu or in most of the shops, kind of off licenses. That's the way I get them out. But sure, I suppose the O'Shea's range, which is O'Hara's, basically is pretty widely available as well. Yeah, if I wanted anything special, I would have to be online.
Okay.
I'm in the middle of the country, so you kind of expect that.
Yeah. You weren't much of a fan of the punk IPA clone that Aldi did. No.
No. What do you think of it yourself?
It definitely wasn't punk anyway. I've seen loads of comparisons on Instagram of people saying, "Oh, it's just like punk." I was like, "No, it's not." But I thought it was all right. Like, it was inoffensive. The Ald IPA one was. I thought that was okay.
I don't think there was any. I think that was marketing between Brewdog and Aldi, and there was no fight there. Like that was just.
No, it was Of course, there was the setup.
Yeah.
That's what Brewdog do.
What do you think of Brewdog? Have you shares in them?
What? No, I don't have any shares. I'd like a big. They're a big part of why I got interested in beer. Like I remember, I I still remember the first time I had Punk IPA. Um, I still remember that moment. I brought home a couple of cans, and I remember smelling it, going, "Holy shit, this is incredible!" Then tasting this and getting that big kind of bitter kind of hit, and going, "Oh Jesus, I'm not too sure." Then taking another sup, and I was hooked. And you know, I remember going out and buying every BrewDog beer that I could possibly buy. Um, like I loved 5 a.m. Saints back in the day. That was that was that was an incredible beer. And like they had so many. So there was one of the reasons that I'm like enjoying craft beer now. But and I know they've got bigger and bigger and bigger. But I mean, that's
some of their dark beers can be quite good. It's just I think some of the pale ales and IPAs now can be just very hit and miss.
No, they are.
Is it 4.6 now or something? It's gone down to.
I mean, they have their place. I mean, I think they do. They have their place. If they introduce people to craft beer, and I think for a lot of people, they probably will be their people's introduction to craft beer, because they'll go into a supermarket, they'll pick up their few cans of Punk or whatever, and that will lead onto other things then for people. Do you know what I mean? So, it seems to be either for a lot of breweries, when you reach a certain scale, now you either sell out to AB InBev or to the likes of Heineken, or they buy significant shares in your business and then try to expand that business, or you could do a BrewDog too, and you try to keep plodding along with additional investment and stuff like that, and just keep going into new markets. And did they have a brewery in I think Columbus and in Australia as well? So they're on this massive global expansion. But no, I mean, you kind of know what you're getting from BrewDog. But yeah, they were loads of fun back in the day. They knew how to kind of get people interested in their beer. They had a good kind of social media presence and stuff like that. And for a long time, they were, for me locally, there wasn't a lot at that time when I was getting into beer. There wasn't a lot of local breweries making those sorts of beers, so they were a lifeline for a long time. But they've gone on to different things now, and some of the specials, some of the collaborations they do are pretty good. But yeah, it is what it is. We all, we start off with certain types of beers or breweries, and then we move on. But sometimes I'll pick up a couple of cans of Punk just to see what it's like at the moment. And sometimes if you get a fresh can, it still surprises me. Sometimes it's actually all right. Sometimes it's very nice.
Well, that's what I mean. Sometimes I've had, not too long ago, I got a Punk IPA and I thought it was actually pretty decent. And then sometimes it's ordinary, but it's not too expensive, like for, if it's for the price.
Yeah.
What do you think of someone like 8 Degrees, who I think have really gone off?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed. They were, for me, the Irish years ago. They were the Irish BrewDog.
Yeah.
Or that's how I used to kind of see them, because they were trying things. They constantly had new IPAs that they were releasing, like single hopped IPAs. Really, really good stuff. Really kind of pushing the boundaries when loads of people were playing it safe. Absolutely loved that brewery. Always featured in in when I go to pick up a couple of beers. You'd always find some 8 degrees in my fridge. Got a tour of the brewery. Have to say they were lovely people, really, really nice. But yeah, when they sold out, there was a clear reduction in the quality of the beers being released. I mean, sometimes when that happens for a while, the beers are okay, not much changes, but yeah, I've definitely seen a marked decrease in
Yeah.
the. That's just my point of view.
Well,
But
that's mine. I can't remember the last time I seen them release a new beer. I can't remember even picking up one of their beers lately.
no,
Just someone, if I see them on Craft Central, kind of go, I don't really want
yeah,
to not be disappointed. I just know when I get it, and I'm going to say, why did I pick up that?
yeah. They like. There's no excitement around. Like I think they did. I think they called it the 8 Ball series or something. They were doing a couple of different releases,
Yeah,
but there's. I don't know. Even the kind of the cans are really bland. And the few times I had them, I was disappointed with them, and I haven't had them. I can't remember the last time I had one, and it's really, really disappointing. And I get it; it's not easy. I mean, there's a lot of people who are really passionate about beer, and they're trying to make a living out of it, and they're trying to, provide us with, with good beers, and I'm thankful for that. There's people out there that are really trying to kind of push the boundaries and stuff, and give us kind of really good local beer. But it's sad when such a brewery with such high standards and really putting out some really, really good stuff kind of when they sell out to a larger company, when the quality drops like that, it's a shame given their history and stuff. But there's plenty of breweries to replace them,
yeah,
and there's so much competition. I mean, if if you don't concentrate on quality and consistency, people will go elsewhere, because there is, unlike when I started off in craft beer, I remember going into supermarkets and there was only a handful. O'Hara's would have
yeah,
been always kind of there, but like there was only a handful of Irish breweries, and most of the stuff I was picking up used to be from the UK. It used to be some American stuff that was probably really, really old and it sat in the ship for a long time. But there was very few Irish breweries. Whereas if you go into the supermarkets now, Super Value, Dunn's, Lidl, like such
everyone.
such a range of beer. Like forget about even in like the off licenses now, like the dedicated like McHugh's massive range. There's a nice new bottle shop in Drumcondra that have 4 or 5 large fridges of really good beer from Ireland, UK, and Europe, along with some really good bottles and stuff like that. So, I mean, spoiled for choice now. So, if you're a brewery coming online, you really need to make sure that you kind of know exactly kind of what you stand for and nail those kind of core beers. Make sure they're consistent, because otherwise people will look elsewhere.
Yeah. Is there any brewery that's gone that you're missing? like I know Independence is that went through a long time ago.
Oh,
They,
sold. Yeah.
yeah, no, Independence were they not? Did they not close down, or was they sold? I don't see the brand Independence Brewery anyway.
Oh yeah. They closed down. I think they were based in Connemara.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in I think they were in the Whalefocht. So that was sad. I used to see their beers used to be in McHugh's quite a bit, which would McHugh's is in Artane. I don't know if you know it, but they yeah. So and I used to see them at the festivals and stuff quite a bit. So it's always sad to see them go. There was a brewery. I don't know if they're gone called Wild Bass.
Haven't seen them in a while.
They had a California Common, which not I don't think any other Irish breweries have done, and it was really really good. Wood Key, they're gone a while. I used to really the guys were really nice and they had a lovely IPA. So it was a shame. They were kind of like a cuckoo brewery, but they brewed their beer in Independent. Now that I think about it, so I think when Independent went, so did they.
Yeah.
So that's a shame. Oh yeah, and of course, Jack Cody's in Drogheda. I know they're gone a few years now, but some of their beers were hit and miss. But I still enjoyed them because at the time when I was getting into beer, they were kind of one of the beers where you could kind of get easy enough, and it was the first ever their saison was the first ever saison that I'd tried, and I enjoyed that at the time. So I was sad to see them go.
Okay, yeah. It's so tough. I think.
Sorry.
No problem.
Do you want to mute me there? Here, I'll mute myself. My wife has just come in, so the dogs had to make the announcement. I think they're all right now.
No problems. Yeah, it's just a tough industry, and I think if anything little things go wrong, it can be a big thing. It can spiral.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Alan. Yeah, McHugh's are great. They have like significant range, so I always I love going there and seeing what they have.
Yeah, so even if you think of Craft Central, I think are a little kind of newspaper shop, or what was a newspaper shop, to being a big off license now, more or less.
Yeah. Steve, like Stephen Street News is the name. Yeah, like if you didn't know where it was, you'd walk past it thinking, like, when you look in the door, the first thing you see is a tiny little newsagents, and then when you walk through it at the back, you have these massive fridges, and it's great to see all the beer in fridges as well. You know, not sitting on warm shelves. And yeah, they really cornered their market. So they did. I say they made an absolute fortune over the last year. I'd say I don't know if that's the only space that they're using to store beers that they're sending around the country. But if I was them, I'd rent out a bigger space because there's probably more business there for them.
Yeah. And the next day, is it before 3 p.m.? Next day delivery it's a big thing.
It's massive. It's great, like, because like often, like in a Thursday, I'd realize I'd go, oh, Jesus, I'm kind of, you know, I don't have much in the fridge there, you know. I'm gonna and I quickly jump onto their website and throw in an order, and it'll be here the next day, ready for the weekend.
Yeah.
What do you think of the 5 liter kegs? Are you a fan? Have you had any?
I haven't, but see, I wouldn't want to drink the same thing.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah. No, I'd be the same because I'm not. I like picking up different beers. I don't often drink the same of one beer. But I think on a nice day, like if you get like I've liked some of the session IPA ones where like if it's a nice summer's day and you're gonna have a couple of drinks and you don't really want to kind of you're not like sometimes it's a pain in the arse when you're especially on Instagram because you feel compelled to take a photograph of every bloody beer that you're drinking. And so sometimes it's nice to get one of those 5 liter kegs of a beer that you know that you enjoy and just sit out the back on a really nice day and just have a couple of beers. That kind of sells it for me anyway.
Yeah. Have you any of the beer machines?
I did. I had one a while ago. Typical, it broke before. I think it broke last January or whatever, right before I needed it. But I got I think it cost me 24 quid or something. It was like it's like just a portable tap that you can push down into those 5 liter kegs, so you can pour a better pint instead of using that twisty nozzle thing that the kegs come with that I hate.
All right. Yeah, because I've seen is it Aldi or Lidl or one of them? I've seen one of the books came in a paper. There's a beer machine in it. Is it this week or next?
Oh, that's right. That's right. I've seen that. It's I think
It's Aldi.
it's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good machine. I think there'll be people queuing outside from 5 o'clock in the morning now to try and get hold of those.
Yeah. Whether I think with the UK especially, will there be an excess of machines coming on the second-hand market now? People selling them after buying them.
Yeah, I'd say so. There was so many different machines that came online over the last year, which a lot of them were not available on the Irish market, which was frustrating. But yeah, I think as they move closer with the blade looks really impressive.
Draft.
Yeah, the perfect draft, very good as well. There's the sub looks good as well because you can get those like 2 liter like plastic kegs, and there's quite a lot of the craft breweries producing those kegs as well. So I think the perfect draft as well. A Tiny Rebel do a lot of kegs for that, don't they? I think.
Yeah.
They looked that did look good. I seen Lagunitas are doing kegs for the blade now as well. People hate me for saying that because they're owned by Heineken, but I still do like Lagunitas. But yeah, no, I think with the pubs reopening over the next few weeks in the UK, obviously the beer gardens are open already. Yeah, people will come. I think they'll spend the summer in pubs and beer gardens because after a year of lockdown, and so they'll probably look at their home draft systems and go, "Oh, not really using that. Don't need it." And so they're probably eBay. You might get a good deal.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people in the UK haven't gone mad with beer. I know the weather is kind of the same as here.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen anyhow. People said the weather went once, or people haven't gone at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe they're just waiting for the pubs to open properly.
Yeah, well, the weather hasn't been. I know they're probably getting a time. I know there's a time slots and all that.
Yeah.
They could be Could be the other
Yeah,
reasons.
the weather could be a factor. All right, yeah, maybe people are still a bit hesitant, to go out in crowded spaces and stuff. So that could be a factor too.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of pictures from the UK of people sitting in the pouring rain having their pint, like a beer garden.
Dedicated.
Crazy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've held you up for nearly 2 hours now, or 2 hours 20 minutes.
I hope you can use this, Thomas. I wasn't just rambling, which I was afraid I would do. I would probably do.
We've had Alan's been here the whole time anyhow. He's been our consistent person putting in comments. So thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah. So if anyone's watching, I think there's meant to be 4 people watching. The link to Mark's Instagram page should be up on the top, should be pinned at the top. So go follow him, like all his posts. Yeah. Have you any final questions before? What's your next beer? What are you going to drink next for the evening?
Like I've actually, over those 2 hours, I've only drank 1 beer, which is pretty good. What do I have? I've got I have a couple of beers from Bullhouse in NI in Northern Ireland. So I'm going to, there's I think Juicy Pale Ale or DDH Pale Ale that I'm going to crack open. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, I think we'll say goodbye.
Thanks for the questions and the comments, Alan. Appreciate it. Who else was watching, by the way?
I'm not sure. A good few people chimed in there. I'm not who's watching at the moment. But thanks to all 4 of you who's watching. And I'll see you next week, whoever's gonna come back.
Yeah, I'll watch next week's episode. Hopefully they do a better job than I did.
Oh, you did brilliant.